So at SHAMc, the Art Center, we're committed to teaching and sharing art, music, and creativity with the community. Along with the workshops that we offer, we've created a form of discussions that's inspired by TED Talks, if anybody knows what TED Talks is. We call our event Boulder, which are some letters we brought back from Boulder, Colorado. We're using it for believe, open, love, diversity, education, and reflection. These events are presented by people we feel have contributed to the local and national art community. We will host people that have interesting artistic lives who have created unique ways of existing in this world. These Boulder Talks will be presented several times a year to bring another level of thinking on a variety of subjects, depending on the personality of the people that present. This evening, we're very excited that our very first Boulder Talk is Ricky Balscarino, owner, founder, and resident madcap artist of Luna Park in Sandyston, New Jersey. We'd like to welcome Ricky.
Imagine a world where no one was concerned with the resale value of their home. Imagine this world where freedom of self-expression was valued as a commodity and cherished. And then imagine what homes in America could be. 30 years ago, I embarked on a vision quest, though at the time I didn't know what the 3 decades would result. I didn't even have a master plan, but basically I needed a place to live. But what was significant was that as soon as I laid eyes on this dilapidated hunting cabin, I knew that this would be the place I'd spend the rest of my life. It was winter of 1988, month of December, after 2 years of searching for properties in northwestern New Jersey. At the end of a long day, I walked across my little bridge, which is the driveway onto the property, and I took one look at the house, and I turned to my realtor and I said, "This is it." And she looked at me and said, "It is?" And obviously there wasn't anything particularly nice about the house, and any normal person would have knocked it down and started from scratch, which in the long run would have been easier, but I needed a place to live. But since I come from a long line of Italian carpenters, I was confident that I could fix it up and customize it. But I really had no master plan, but youthful enthusiasm and an instant connection with this property, and I was 28 years old. The cabin sits on 6 acres of forest in New Jersey, where New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey come together, about 30 miles north of the Delaware Water Gap and about 1.5 miles from the Appalachian Trail. 30 years passed both slowly and quickly, and the 600 square feet of the original house turned to 5,000. 4 rooms turned into 15, and the single level turned into 11 levels. Not stories, but different levels. Some you actually have to go up to go down. So one of the most frequently asked questions when visitors come to Luna Park is why? Why do I do all this? How does it all happen? But that is actually the most difficult question to answer. And I admit I do have an obsessive streak. I wouldn't necessarily call myself obsessive compulsive. I might be diagnosed as a compulsive collector, but not a hoarder. And there is a distinction between collecting and hoarding. Hoarding is a random disorder where there's no regard for the actual object. But I'm extremely selective of what comes into the house on the property. My cousins at Whimsyland understand this concept of gathering, using, and reusing. I collect barrels of corks to attach to the walls and ceilings to create a bamboo effect. Like Todd and Carolinda, I gather bowling balls and use them in my sculptures and propped up on sticks. I have a collection of these white plastic tabs that come off of the milk and juice cartons. I have a chain that I connected them together that is now over 300 feet long, which I claim to have the longest milk chain in the state of New Jersey, possibly the United States, but I haven't been able to verify that. And the house is filled with objects from my travels around the world, oddities, artifacts, all neatly curated in display cabinets and labeled as where they came from, usually how much I paid for them, and then the other stories that surrounding them. I have a jar of snakes and mice that the cats bring home. I have the placenta and umbilical cord of my neighbor's firstborn child. My friend in Cincinnati recently sent me her fallopian tubes. And I have the testicles of my 2 neutered cats. But the collection is not just macabre medical biological stuff. I love collecting kitschy pottery and folk art. I have a collection of antique chairs and lamps ranging from the 1800s to the 1970s. And my favorite collection of hats and personal objects from obscure cultures from around the world. So the house is a museum, and I refer to the house as the Museum of the New Alchemy. So the concept of alchemy, the new alchemy, refers to the traditional practice of alchemy where the founders of modern chemistry believed that all materials originated from gold, and through a process, all these materials could be returned to gold. So if you consider that art is gold, then think of this as alchemy, where you transform any materials into art, be it metal, glass, wood, bowling balls, corks, cements, all through the process of transmutation. And I owe a lot of this, my skills, to my Italian ancestors. My mother's side were fun, kooky, creative thinkers and artists. And my father's side, the Sicilians, were the practical carpenters, and there were seamstresses and amazing chefs. And I learned to use power tools about the age of 6. So both of these lineages combined have allowed me to gather and hone my skills and combine them with the creative thinking. So now that I've spent more than half of my life at Luna Park, the house and property have been developed into the museum, the sculpture park, and I wondered what was next in this evolution, and that is education and outreach. So my purpose of education is to corrupt young creative minds so that they disregard this concept of resale value and continue on a path of abundant creativity. So about 4 years ago, I established a nonprofit foundation known as the Luna Parc Atelier Foundation. Atelier is a French word meaning artist studio or a factory, an art factory. It's a nonprofit 501c3 where we are dedicated to this concept of teaching young creative minds about this concept of abundant creativity. We host dedicated art students to spend 2 to 4 weeks at Luna Park, being a part of whatever projects are going on at the time. And of course, this interns come with varying skills. But I'm also dedicated to teaching anyone who comes to Luna Park and to tell them about all the different materials that I work with, as long as they're committed to a life as an artist. Since my own personal philosophy is all about hand-working skills, my mission is to restore skills in creating art and craft. What inspired me to use this as a base for my teaching mission was an experience that I had with my summer intern of last year from Rhode Island School of Design, and which was also my alma mater. And the student was a furniture design major, which I was very excited. I thought, wow, this is great, a furniture design major. I had all these ideas of what we could be doing. But it was obvious that as soon as she arrived, that she had very little experience actually making objects. So her experience really was in 3D printing and CAD, the computer-aided design on the computer. So she had no real hand skills, much to my dismay. So I realized that from my discussions with her that this is actually a trend in art schools in general, and which was very different when I attended RISD in the late 70s. There was no digital aided computer design, and there was certainly no 3D printing machines. So, of course, I don't consider myself a Luddite when it comes to technology. I understand that technology is going to be integrated into all forms of creating art, but it's my mission now to see that practical hand skills are not lost to this generation of up-and-coming artists. As I mentioned, I come from a long line of craftsmen and artisans for many generations, and I work with a variety of materials. And it's my personal mission to teach young people the importance of understanding how to create objects in reality with their hands, as well as digitally. I consider Luna Parc an analog institution, and some of my young interns complain that even the Wi-Fi is substandard. But I'm not sure whether this is an actual clearly conscious decision or on my part, or that it's just my focus to concentrate on the actual three-dimensional skills. So Luna Parc is filled with objects. Objects that I create, objects that I collect. There are objects created by fellow artists, and certainly objects that were created by machines. To say the least, Luna Parc is eclectic. So all of these come together and are cohesive because it's all alchemy. It's all about the combining and the extracting, and it's all about transformation of ideas and concepts and materials, and that is Luna Parc. So these photos are, they're not in any particular random, they're not in any order. These are just kind of random photos of projects and some of the rooms and spaces around the property, and still evolving to this day. So I'm going to read a poem that I wrote, which kind of sums up my whole philosophy in a more poetic form. And this is actually tiled in mosaic. You might even see one of the images tiled into the wall in a room which I call my cantina. So this poem refers to the mysteries of the house and the puzzles that are all tiled in different parts of the house, interior and exterior. The secret symbols in the halls bear heavy burden on the walls. Conundrum spawn, enigma reign, as the reign of ray remain. Fecund folly never falter, for progeny that follow after. To question truth decipher riddle, how light and dark meet in the middle. With the clavis comes erudition. Break the code and ask the question of how or why, of who or who, of when. This edifice stands until the end. Of time, a legacy of fact and fiction, of lore, of data, eccentric vision. This is a greeting, an invitation to explore unconvention. For those basking in the light, this beckons to incite insight, and those emerging from the dark, a welcome from the patriarch to a curious cabinet called Luna Parc.